So you've been working on a lot of trig this week, and we start off with some basic trig functions, learning what sine, cosine, and tangent were. And then we did a few little word problems yesterday based on angles of elevation and angles of depression. Those two terms are going to be really important for a lot of trig problems, but not every trig problem is like that. So today we want to look at some word problems, some real life problems, because trig does get used quite a bit in actual work that happens. So we're going to do 3 problems here today, and then you're going to work on the rest of them tonight, okay? So if you want to print the sheet out, you can pause this and print the sheet out or take notes on paper. It really doesn't matter to me. But let's take a look at some word problems, okay? So here's our first problem. We got a hot air balloon tied to the ground with 2 taut straight ropes. So there's a rope coming across here, and there's a rope tied straight to the ground there. Below, one rope is directly under the balloon, the one making the right angle with the ground. The other rope forms a 50-degree angle with the ground, so we see that. Determine to the nearest foot, so now we know what we're rounding to, the balloon, how high the balloon is right off the ground. So we're looking for the height of the balloon. I'm going to mark that with my X. So that's what I'm looking for, is the height of the balloon. So looking at what I have here, I can recognize immediately that I've got the opposite and I know the hypotenuse. So going with what I know about trig, there's that. So once we know that, we can actually use that to find our information. So opposite and hypotenuse tells me, whoops, I forgot that should be an A, not an O. Opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So the sine of 50 degrees is my opposite, which is X, over my hypotenuse, which is 110 feet. So we can cross multiply. So X equals 110 sine of 50. And now you're ready to go at that point. So I'm going to go to my calculator. Okay, I'm going to make sure I'm in degrees. Bam, degrees. And we want 110 sine of 50. So I'm going to type that in. 110 sine of 50. Whoops, I can type 110 sine of 50. And there's my answer, 84.264. So X is 84.264. I'm just going to get all the digits that I had. 249. Whoops, wrong side. 249. But they did say to the nearest foot. So X is 84 feet. So that's a very simple problem. Read the problem, identify your sides, and you're good to set it up. Let's look at another problem now that you've got that one taken care of. Okay, so this one, diagram, let's see, get my pointer here. Diagram below shows the path a bird flies to the top of a 9.5 foot tall sunflower. So this sunflower is 9.5 feet tall. On the ground, that's 5 feet away from the base of the sunflower. So here's a point that's 5 feet away from the base, okay? To the nearest 10th of degree, 10th of the degree, what is the angle formed by X? So again, I need to look at what sides do I have? Well, with the X here, I have the adjacent side, that's the leg adjacent to X, and the opposite side. So using my SOHCAHTOA, I have to decide which trig function to use. So knowing I have opposite and adjacent, I'm going to use the tangent function. Tangent of X is the opposite, which is 5, over the adjacent, which is 9.5. But this time I'm looking for the angle. So I know I'm not looking for the tangent. I want to use the tangent inverse. So X equals tan inverse of 5 over 9.5. That is what I'm ready to set into my calculator. So grab your calculator and let's calculate. So I need my functions here. Let me get my functions. Functions, tan inverse, and I believe we said 5 over 9.5. Oops, flipped the wrong one again. So it's going to be 5 over 9.5. And that gives me 27.7585. So 27.7585, I believe is what we said. But hey, we want nearest 10th of a degree. Now, usually we round to the nearest degree, but this told me different in my directions. I'm going to double check my numbers here to make sure I did it right. Yes, I did. So we're looking at 27.8 degrees. Okay. Always follow your directions. We already got ideas. If they don't tell us what to do, what we normally do, like for angles, we usually round to, and then for, you should have said nearest degree. And then for sides, we usually round to, and you should have said 4 decimal places. Okay. So there's that information. One more problem. Okay. Those are pretty straightforward problems. It's one single triangle, but sometimes they really kind of try to mess with you and they throw your trig problems at you with multiple triangles like number 3 here. So in this problem, I'm going to highlight 2 separate triangles that I have. I've got this triangle that's got a 30-degree angle with the ground. And then I've also got this triangle, which has a 32-degree angle with the ground. Okay, so 2 different triangles means I'm going to have 2 different equations. So looking at the 30-degree angle, now I know this one's a 30-degree angle because it's a smaller angle. 30 is smaller than 32. So looking at what I have, I'm going to read my problem here. She uses a clinometer, which is an instrument for measuring angles, and find the height of the flagpole. Find the top of the flagpole, the angle to the bottom. What is the height of the flagpole? So we're looking for the height of the flagpole. So I'm going to mark that as my X. Since that's what I'm, you know what? Instead of using X, I'm going to use a different letter. I'm going to use F for flagpole. Okay. And then here I have the height of the building. I'm going to need that because the height of the building is the height of the pink triangle I've highlighted. In fact, I could say, since I've got the opposite and the adjacent, the tangent of the 30-degree angle is B over 300. Now that is dealing with the pink triangle. So I'm going to highlight that because that's part of the pink triangle. Now, just for fun, let's look at the orange triangle. It has F and B. In fact, I'm just going to call this whole thing H. And if I look at the orange triangle, I now can say the tangent of 32 is H over 300. So now I'm able to solve both of these separately. So sometimes you have to look at 2 separate triangles. I got a pink triangle and an orange triangle. Neither of these are what I'm looking for, but I can use them both to maybe find something later. So when I solve this first problem, that's B equals 300 tangent of 30. So I'm going to go to my calculator and get that solution. And in fact, I'm going to actually type it in as B equals, well, 300 tangent of 30. And now I get B to be 173.2051. So I'm going to write that down. 173. Get my numbers, 2051. 2051. So that's B. That's the height of the building. Let's get the height of the entire thing. So the height of the entire thing is 300 tangent of 32. So I'm going to put that into my calculator. I'm going to call that H equals 300 tangent of 32. So that's 187.4608. 187.4608. So the flagpole is going to be the height of the entire thing minus the height of the building. So now to get my flagpole height, watch this. This is where this calculator really works well. I can go to my calculator. I can say the height of the flagpole equals the height of the whole thing minus the height of the building, because I've defined H and B to be that. Enter. There we go. 14.2557. So 14.2557. The reason I want to do that is I like using the entire number. I don't want to put any rounded numbers in there. Remember, you really, really don't want to round until the very, very end of your problem. So even though they're telling me to round to the nearest foot, I'm using the entire number. In fact, I'm using that entire number that's in this. I would do the same thing with my calculator. If I were using a regular calculator, I'd copy these and use those entire numbers rather than use a rounded version of it. Okay? So once I have that, Let's see, they did say nearest foot. So my answer is 14 feet. So you got to be careful with this. Sometimes you've got to look at more than one triangle, okay? So if there's single triangle problems, very, very simple. But when you deal with more triangles, well, things get a little more complicated. Okay, so now here's your job. You've got the rest of this worksheet to do, okay? Go through and do them as well as you can. I highly encourage you to print them out, okay? Print it out. In fact, I've got mine printed out here with the answers already because I already did my homework. Print those out. You're going to answer the questions in a Google form, okay? So you're just going to type the answers, and once you've solved your problem, type the answers into the Google form. And like always, it's going to tell you at the end what the answer is. Once you submit your Google form, once you've done your homework, you've completed your homework, now you're able to submit your Google form, and it will give you a link to the answer key with all my work on it, okay? So I want you to try it first and then look at your answers, okay? You're not going to be able to go look at the answers and come back and fill it in. That's not how this is going to work, okay? I've been telling you since early in the year, you've got to try things first, even if you get it wrong, and then go back and try it again, okay? So correct your mistakes. We'll do more work with this, okay? So we're going to be practicing with this kind of stuff for the next few days. All right, good luck. I'll see you later.